YouTubers, to another episode of Common Sense Grifting. Today we're Pope watching, keeping an eye on the Vatican, making sure they're up to no sneaky stuff.
The battle between the president and the Pope continues to play out on the world stage, and some allies of President Trump are piling on to defend the war in Iran. The Pope has not backed down from his criticisms of the conflict either, but he's taking a different approach during his visit to Africa.
Good morning, everyone.
On his flight from Algeria to Cameroon today, Pope Leo avoided President Trump's war of words and told journalists that the world needs peace.
Although we have different beliefs, we have different ways of worshiping, we have different ways of living, we can live together in peace.
His message came after a new social media post from the president this morning sharing an image of himself.
It is so weird hearing Pope talk with English in an American accent, too. Whatever. I think, he's in the right time, right place type of guy, I guess.
Being cradled by Jesus. President Trump deleted a controversial post from earlier in the
I think I see Bilal up there. I don't know. Also, okay. This AI is so bad. Like, these fighter jets just turn into triangles.
The week of himself depicted as Jesus that prompted criticism from many Christians. But Christian and even Catholic members of the Trump administration are standing behind the president. At a Turning Point USA event in Georgia last night, Catholic convert and Vice President J.D. Vance disagreed.
Excommunicate J.D. Vance, please. Do it now. Do it live, in fact. Do it while he's at a public event. Or do it right before he's about to have a big moment. Excommunicate that. Okay.
With Leo's theology and suggested the Pope should be careful.
When the Pope says that God is never on the side of those who wield the sword, there is more than a 1,000-year tradition of just war theory. Okay? Now, we can, of course, have disagreements about whether this or that conflict is just, but I think that it's important, in the same way that it's important for the Vice President of the United States to be careful when I talk about matters of public policy, I think it's very, very important for the Pope to be careful when he talks about matters of theology.
Many Republicans have stayed quiet or urged the president to leave the church alone. But today, House Speaker Mike Johnson backed Vance and the president.
Obviously, if you wade into political waters, I think you should expect some political response, and I think the Pope's received some of that.
The battle between the Vatican and the White House began last weekend when Pope Leo spoke out in his strongest terms yet against the war in Iran. Leo denounced the, quote, delusion of omnipotence that he argued was fueling the war in Iran and other global conflicts. Trump unloaded with a Truth Social post calling Pope Leo, quote, weak on crime and terrible for foreign policy.
Dude, I love that too. The Pope is weak on crime, dude, as if he's a public official. Yeah. We gotta vote this Pope out, guys. He's not. He's too weak on crime, dude. Lock him up. The Pope is weak on crime. My Trump impression sucks, but I'll try it anyway. Oh. What's next, dude? Is the Pope weak on the border, too? He's weak on crime. He's weak on the border. And he doesn't like strong tariffs. I don't know.
And said if it wasn't for his re-election, Leo wouldn't be the first American pope. On Monday, he doubled down.
Yeah, probably. They probably picked him in response to you getting elected. Just in case a moment like this Iran war happened, you know?
We believe strongly in law and order, and he seemed to have a problem with that, so there's nothing.
Where they could so the Vatican could at least curry more influence with Americans, you know? Good call, Vatican.
Nothing to apologize for. He's wrong.
And that same day, Pope Leo was defiant.
I do not look at my role as being politician. I don't want to get into a debate with him. I don't think that the message of the gospel is meant to be abused in the way that some people are doing. And I will continue to speak out about this.
We're joined now by Reverend James Martin. He's a Jesuit priest and editor-at-large of America magazine. Father Martin, welcome.
Why don't you get a Catholic priest? Whatever. I don't know what the difference is. I don't know what a Jesuit is, so whatever.
My pleasure.
So let me just ask what you thought when you heard Vice President Vance warn Pope Leo to be careful on matters of theology. What was your reaction?
That you have the Vice President warning the Vicar of Christ, who was an Augustinian, who was at that time visiting the birthplace of St. Augustine, and who knows more about St. Augustine than most people have forgotten, that he doesn't understand just war and that he doesn't understand theology. I just found that really hard to swallow.
Father Martin, this idea of just war, what should we understand about that?
Well, it's an ancient concept in the Catholic Church and in the Christian Church more broadly that talks about the types of requirements that are needed for a war to be considered just. And people can go online and find them all. For example, there has to be a proportionate response. It's usually in defense. And pretty much every theologian, including Cardinal Robert McElroy, who's a doctorate in theology and political science, Archbishop Timothy Broglio, former head of the USCCB.
Entering the church, what most of us do not rejoice over, however, is a deadly combination of inaccuracy and hubris. What did you mean by that?
Well, the inaccuracy is that he doesn't seem to understand the tenets of just war.
Followed an AI image of himself as Jesus that he later deleted. That followed, we should remind people, an AI image of himself.
All this guys here, like, who cares about the theology behind it? Okay, I mean, I get that the Pope. This is a conversation around the Pope, but.
I'm Amy Goodman with Juan Gonzalez. We turn now to escalating tensions between the president
same guy
and as Jesus. So it seems.
Democracy Now! Got the same guy. Weird. You'd think there'd be more TV-friendly priests that would want to have their voice heard about this. Oh, Morning Joe is stunned. We gotta check that out. Where is it?
President is going after the Pope again.
Oh, no, don't do that. Don't do that.
Yeah,
no,
and it's
not a good move.
Hot stove. Trump posted last night on social media, quote, "Will someone please tell Pope Leo that Iran has killed at least 42,000 innocent, completely unarmed protesters in the last 2 months, and that for Iran to have a nuclear bomb is absolutely unacceptable."
Dude, I love
Iran
how
has acknowledged more than
even Trump, unless even Trump knows that there were armed agitators, because he literally openly told the press that they were arming like Kurdish militias and whatnot, to get a color revolution, fund a color revolution in Iran. Also, this number is fake. But I love that he was like, oh, right, gotta mention they're completely unarmed. Even though his own past statements would contradict that. Anyway.
3,000 deaths, while the UN estimates that number to be between 5 and 20,000. It is not clear what exactly may have sparked the message from the president. The Pope yesterday morning posted in part, quote, God's heart is torn apart by wars, violence, injustice, and lies. But our Father's heart is not with the wicked, the arrogant, or the proud. Vice President J.D. Vance also weighed in on the Pope during a Turning Point USA event at the University of Georgia yesterday. Take a look.
Now, we can, of course, have disagreements about whether this or that conflict is just, but I think that it's important, in the same way that it's important for the Vice President of the United States to be careful when I talk about matters of public policy, I think it's very, very important for the Pope to be careful when he talks about matters of theology. I think one of the issues here is that if you're going to opine on matters of theology, you've got to be careful, you've got to make sure it's anchored in the truth, and that's one of the things that...
we got a fake Catholic here, bruh. He's not listening to his guy. Okay, excommunicate him now. I say it. I said it there. Boom. JD, you're excommunicated.
From the clergy, whether they're Catholic or Protestant.
And I'm not even Catholic.
What are you, a king in medieval Europe warning the Pope not to talk about the Bible? That's what you just said. You know how stupid you sound, right? You know how stupid you sound when you, new to the Catholic Church, are lecturing Mr. Vice President, the pontiff.
Okay, I don't care about their commentary, but yeah, anyway. Shouts out to Pope Leo. Got another woke one. In the clergy. What in the... Where you at? In the clergy. In the club. G. Okay, that was cringe. I don't know. That's... No, that wasn't cringe. That was super funny. Yeah, I'm done with this kind of irrelevant story. But if you liked the video, like and subscribe, please. Please. Alright. Peace out, gamers. Bye-bye, YouTubers.